नमस्कार विनय जी। दोस्तों हमारे साथ आज आज पर्सनालिटी है। आज थोड़ा सा कुछ हटके है हमारे साथ। वी हैव वन वेरी 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 इंटेलेक्चुअल पर्सन बट येट वर्किंग विद द लार्जेस्ट पॉलिटिकल पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया, भारतीय जनता पार्टी। नेशनल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट है डॉक्टर विनय सहस्रबुद्धे जी। ये एक पीएचडी होल्ड करते हैं पॉलिटिकल साइंस में। और रामभाव मार्गी प्रबोधिनी, अगर ये हमने बहुत नाम सुना है, बहुत। आई थिंक इट इज द ओल्डेस्ट इंस्टीट्यूट हु ट्रेन्स पीपल इन पॉलिटिक्स एंड पॉलिटिकल ट्रेनिंग देती है। और ऑफ कोर्स हमारे बातचीत में हमें पता चलेगा ही। तो वी आर रियली फॉर्चुनेट टू हैव यू विनय जी विद अस। एंड आई एम श्योर कि आज की यूथ के पास बहुत क्वेश्चंस हैं एंड वी आर ऑल वेरी क्यूरियस टू नो मेनी थिंग्स फ्रॉम यू। And let this session of enlightenment begin within us. और I would like to ask you to Vinay जी कि generally we see that हम लोग इतना पढ़ते हैं और सब कुछ करते हैं और पॉलिटिक्स और ये सब चीजों में दूर दूर तक हम जाते नहीं है कभी। तो पीएचडी है, आप ऑथर है, आपने बुक्स लिखी है, आपने इतना कुछ किया है। तो हाउ हैज दिस बीन द जर्नी, और कैसे ये सब शुरुआत हुई है? हाउ डिड यू एंड अप टुडे बीइंग द नेशनल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ भारतीय जनता पार्टी?
See, politics is not just about interesting elections and acquiring power. Politics is everywhere. Every segment of our state, for that matter, had some politics in it. और इसलिए जब हम देश के राजनीति के बारे में सोचते हैं तो विकास के बारे में हमारी अवधारणा होती है, लोगों का सहभाग होता है। लोग बोलते हैं कि ये काम एनजीओ का है, ये काम पॉलिटिकल है। तो एनजीओ इटसेल्फ इज पॉलिटिक्स। ऐसा मानने की जरूरत नहीं कि एनजीओ का मतलब, मैं गलत अर्थ से नहीं कह रहा हूँ, सही अर्थ से कह रहा हूँ। क्योंकि एनजीओ जो कॉज लेती है उसका कहीं ना कहीं हमारे पॉलिसी मेकिंग प्रक्रिया से एक सीधा संबंध होता है, इसलिए वो भी एक पॉलिटिक्स ही है। इसलिए पॉलिटिक्स देश की राजनीति, ये केवल सत्ता की राजनीति नहीं होती, जिसको हम राष्ट्र नीति बोलते हैं, वो भी एक होता है। तो उस दृष्टि से पॉलिटिक्स का जो एक कुल मिलाकर विस्तार है वो लगभग समाज जीवन के सारे क्षेत्रों को स्पर्श करने वाला है। मैं स्वयं अखिल भारतीय विद्यार्थी परिषद से जुड़ा रहा मेरे छात्र जीवन में। उसी समय इमरजेंसी आई थी तो कई लोगों ने सत्याग्रह किया, जेल में वो गए, तो मैं भी उस आंदोलन का हिस्सा था। मैं भी लगभग 45 दिन जेल में था। तो तब से कुल मिलाकर जिसको एक व्यापक राजनीति बोलते हैं, राष्ट्रीय राजनीति बोलते हैं, उसके साथ संबंध आया। और फिर चूंकि वो महागी प्रबोधन का संबंध सीधा भारतीय जनता पार्टी से है तो वो भी हुआ। मैं पार्टी के नेशनल ट्रेनिंग सेल का इंचार्ज लगभग 10 साल। गवर्नेंस सेल की शुरुआत हमने की श्री। जैसी बात नहीं है, मैं पहले से एक विचारधारा से जुड़ा रहा। राजनीति उस विचारधारा का एक अभिन्न अंग है।
आपने इमरजेंसी के बारे में बताया। अभी दैट इज समथिंग रेयर। मतलब हम लोग सिर्फ सुनते हैं कि इमरजेंसी, और वो एक बहुत इंडिया की हिस्ट्री में खतरनाक ऐसे दिन थे। तो आजकल तो हमें जो युवक राजनीति में, हमें जेल मतलब इतना ही पता है कि कोई जेल मरो आंदोलन होता है या कोई क्रिमिनल जेल में जाता है। तो ये इमरजेंसी के टाइम पे एग्जैक्टली हुआ क्या था तो वो हम सब जानते हैं। कि आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या है? और ऑफ कोर्स वो कभी आएगा भी नहीं और आ भी नहीं सकता, लेकिन आप वो एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कीजिए हमारे साथ। और आप क्या सीखे? व्हाट लेसन्स डिड यू टेक फ्रॉम दैट सो दैट वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम इट?
वैसे देखा जाए तो रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में व्यक्ति के बहुत कुछ अंतर आया था, ऐसी बात नहीं थी, मगर एक डरावना वातावरण था। हम कुछ बोले, कुछ लिखे, कुछ चर्चा करें, ये इसके लिए आज जो एक खुलापन है, या अन्य सभी हमारे राष्ट्र जीवन के काल में जो एक खुलापन हमने महसूस किया, वो खुलापन उस समय मिसिंग था। और सब सहमे सहमे थे, डरे डरे थे। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने उस समय मतलब इमरजेंसी के बाद जब चुनाव हुए तब शिवाजी पार्क पर एक भाषण किया था और हम सब लोग सुनने के लिए गए थे। तो उसका एक वाक्य मुझे बिल्कुल अभी भी स्मरण में आता है, और एक दृष्टि से काफी मतलब उस समय की जो स्थिति थी उसका वर्णन करने वाला वाक्य था। उन्होंने कहा था कि पूरे देश को श्रीमती गांधी ने एक जेल में बदल डाला था। तो ये बात सही है कि हर किसी को एक डर था, एक मन पर प्रेशर था, और हम कुछ बातें बोलना लिखना, इसमें जो आज एक स्वतंत्रता का अनुभव करते हैं वो नहीं था। और साथ ही साथ कोई आंदोलन नहीं, कोई सरकार के विरोध में टीका टिप्पणी नहीं, नारेबाजी नहीं, समाचार पत्रों में कहीं आलोचना नहीं। उस समय तो बाकी चैनल्स थे ही नहीं, दूरदर्शन था जो सरकारी चैनल ही केवल था, तो
जो
वो तो
बस
कोई
गया
सवाल
है
ही नहीं।
उसमें
हाँ,
तो।
और फेसबुक वगैरह का तो कोई पता ही नहीं था उस समय, तो वो कोई विषय ही नहीं। आज की दुनिया में मुझे लगता है कि ये साहस कोई कर नहीं पाएगा, मगर उस समय में ये हुआ। कई लोगों को बेवजह जेल में बंद कर दिया गया, कई तरीके के अत्याचार भी हुए, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ जैसी संस्थाओं पर पाबंदी आई। तो बहुत गलत तरीके से ये देश के लोकतांत्रिक जीवन को ठेस पहुंच, इस तरीके का एक काल रहा
इट वाज
इतिहास
एन इंसल्ट टू द
में।
डेमोक्रेसी।
ऑफ कोर्स, ऑफ कोर्स।
और मेरे ख्याल से तब इमरजेंसी के वक्त जो सब संघर्ष किया है सबने, आई थिंक आज वही संघर्ष करने वाले लोग।
Yeah, most of the frontline leaders of BJP today were, and in their prime youth at that point of time, were on the forefront of the battle against emergency and the war for democracy, for
So
that
we
matter,
have
whether
a
it was
message.
Arun Jaitley
अच्छा.
or Sushil Modi or all those people. They were naturally leading that movement. The message is, as we have been understanding all along, that eternal vigilance is what is required. और स्वाधीनता के साथ, जनतंत्र के साथ जो अधिकार हमने पाए हैं, हर रोज उसका हम उपयोग करते ही है, इसलिए उसकी महानता को हम समझते नहीं। मगर मैं मानता हूं कि उसकी महानता को हमने समझना चाहिए, और उसको बरकरार रखने के लिए अपनी अपनी क्षमता से जो भी करना संभव है जरूर करना चाहिए।
जब हम यूथ होते हैं तब हमने संघर्ष जारी रखना चाहिए, और तब जाके मतलब इट इज ऑल फॉर अस टू लर्न कि संघर्ष का इम्पोर्टेंस कितना है लाइफ का। तो हमारे साथ कुछ यूथ जुड़े हुए हैं और उनके कुछ सवाल है आपके लिए। तो नैतिक, कैन यू हियर अस?
Yes.
हेलो नैतिक, आपका क्या सवाल है? कैन वी हैव अ क्वेश्चन प्लीज?
Good evening, Vinay ji.
Very good evening, Naitik.
This question is related to good governance, sir. So, as you see in the past, sir, आपने देखा होगा कि काफी स्टेट ने भी गुड गवर्नेंस और ई गवर्नेंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इनिशिएट किए हैं प्रोजेक्ट्स, बट समहाउ ब्यूरोक्रेट्स ये प्रोजेक्ट्स को कैपिटलाइज नहीं कर पाए टू अ मैक्सिमम एक्सटेंट. So why is it that, and how the new government will be, taking a new initiatives to take things forward?
See, basically गवर्नेंस में दोनों का सहभाग है। वैसे देखा जाए तो तीनों का सहभाग है। मतलब एक और पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप है, दे हैव टू हैव ए क्लैरिटी ऑफ थिंकिंग, द प्रॉपर पॉलिसी पर्सपेक्टिव एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द ग्राउंड सिचुएशन. That helps them conceive some new ideas, some new projects, some new schemes for the welfare of the people or the development of the nation. Then comes the bureaucracy. ये जो अफसरशाही है, उसके द्वारा क्रियान्वयन के बारे में काफी कुछ होने की अपेक्षा रहती है। तो इन दोनों में काफी एक अच्छे तरीके की सिनर्जी होना जरूरी है। और सिनर्जी तब होती है जब जिनके उद्देश्यों के बारे में, मोटिव्स के बारे में, इरादों के बारे में कहीं डाउट नहीं है, ऐसी स्थिति जब आती है तो ब्यूरोक्रेसी के ऊपर भी एक नैतिक दबाव सा बन जाता है। When the bureaucracy knows that the political leadership is morally bankrupt, it is unfair to expect that they will function in a ethical and morally kind of sound
Correct
manner.
sound
That
manner.
certainly cannot happen. और इन दोनों के साथ साथ जैसे हम जानते हैं कि जनता का जुड़ाव होना भी बहुत जरूरी है। Our Prime Minister has been insisting on greater participation of the people. तो ये जन भागीदारी नाम की जो चीज है, वो जब तक होती नहीं, कोई सरकारी योजना सफल नहीं हो पाएगी। और इसकी कई उदाहरण कई जगह हमने देखे हैं। और मैं मानता हूं कि इन तीनों चीजों की ओर सरकार बहुत तरीके से ध्यान दे रही है। पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप ऐसी है जिनके इरादों के बारे में कोई संदेह नहीं है। इसका दबाव ब्यूरोक्रेसी पर आ रहा है, और लोग भी हर किसी कार्यक्रम में पार्टिसिपेट होने के लिए उत्सुक है। हम देखते हैं कि जब प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कि इस सभा में आने वाले लोग यहाँ से जाएंगे तो कोई कूड़ा कचरा प्लास्टिक की बोतल छोड़ेंगे नहीं।
Right.
His way of making people participate in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. It's a very symbolic way, but that is how people are made to participate. महात्मा गांधी जी ने कहा था कि आप चरखे पर सूत काटो और सूत बनाओगे तो वो आप उसके स्वाधीनता मिलेगी। अभी चरखा चलाने से स्वाधीनता तो नहीं मिल सकेगी, मगर एक सिंबल उन्होंने दिया कि ये करोगे तो ये होगा। डॉक्टर हेडगेवार जी ने कहा लोगों को कि आप संघ की शाखा में आओ। अभी शाखा के में आने से और खेल खेलने से कोई राष्ट्र बनेगा ये किसी को ध्यान में नहीं आएगा, मगर ये एक पार्टिसिपेशन का एक फोरम उन्होंने उपलब्ध किया। आई थिंक आवर प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी इज फॉलोइंग द सेम kind of methodology of making people participate in the.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Naitik, any more questions you want to ask?
No, the only this is, एक नरेंद्र मोदी जी पूरा फुल फोर्स दे रहे हैं, बट स्टेट लेवल में भी यही चीज आगे प्रोपोगेट होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, अदरवाइज ही कैन नॉट ट्रैवल एंटायर इंडिया एंड कंटिन्यूअसली.
Obviously, I mean, there cannot be two opinions about that. We require maybe hundreds and thousands of Narendra Modi with passion, same commitment, same zeal, and same kind of desire to make a change. That is what is going to count. Making a difference is something very critical, and with Narendra Modi at the helm of affairs, I think we are all kind of very passionately looking at as to how we can make a difference through our own small actions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. But then I think the best part about all this that has happened, जो मोदी जी का और जो लोकसभा इलेक्शन हुआ, that people have started thinking. पहले हमारा एटीट्यूड था कि I don't care, मुझे क्या करना है पॉलिटिक्स से, वो क्या है, लेकिन आज जब मेडिसन स्क्वायर पे जब मोदी जी गए, तो every Indian was in front of the TV channels and watching him live. So that is the revolution is brought. So we have Gaurang with us. He also has a question to ask and a discussion to make. Hi Gaurang.
Hello Gaurang, tell me.
Hello, that in South India there are so many incubation centers promoting entrepreneurship.
Sorry?
So do you think if in South India hello?
Yeah, go ahead now. Now you are audible, Gaurav. Go ahead.
Yeah. In South India, Visakhapatnam and Andhra Pradesh, there's so many incubation centers.
Incubation centers, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. He's asking about entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay.
Gaurav will come back to you. I think we lost the link with you.
About the should government be keen more to promote entrepreneurship?
We will come back again to you, Gaurav. So we have with us Mr. Sunil.
Hello.
हाँ.
Hello.
पूछिए.
Hello.
हाँ बोला.
Yeah. Good evening, Vinay ji.
Good evening. Tell me.
Acha, my question is, see, we are talking about good governance. So, good governance requires synchronization of administrative and legal activities. and committed by Narendra Modi ji, that he is going to scrap off certain laws, but the legal and administrative part have been guaranteed to be distinct by on situation of India, and the present India government has been criticized earlier even for interference with the legal setup. So how do you plan to balance both?
How do you plan to
Huh,
handle
Modi
legal?
ji is scrapping many
Yeah,
laws,
yeah.
and yeah, and secondly, it is also a big time interference in the legal system.
No, I agree, but see, somewhere or the other, someone has to
Exactly.
gather courage and start doing the things in a very resolute manner. What Narendra Bhai is up to is because of the clarity of thinking in his mind and also some kind of a courage of conviction. He is treading on those paths where nobody had really dared to. और इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि ये जो हमारी न्याय प्रक्रिया जुडिशियरी और जुडिशियल सिस्टम के बारे में जो सुधारों की बात है न्यू बिल इज देयर एज ऑल ऑफ अस अंडरस्टैंड एंड देन ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट scrapping the old laws. These are the things which were wanting to, I mean, we wanted them to happen in fact yesterday.
Pending issues.
There is already a huge backlog kind of. और ये कुल मिलाकर जो एक गवर्नेंस का बैकलॉग है उसी का एक हिस्सा है दैट वी हैव नॉट डन अवे विद दोज ओल्ड एंड archaic laws, something which doesn't go in tune with the modern days and the modern systems and the modern thinking as well, and therefore the updation of the legal system is something which is very required. I'm sure Mr. Modi will go ahead in that direction. Certainly, I mean, no path is without any obstacles, and there will be some obstacles, but I'm sure with people solidly standing behind him and several sections of the society also seeing the logic behind the moves that he is planning, he will be a success.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, our judiciary needs a lot of reforms which are being pending. So yeah, somebody has to, like you said, to take the first step.
Correct.
Vinay ji, we would like to know about Rambau Margi Prabodhini. I have visited it, and it is one of the best place, and it's my favorite. And the vibes we get there, I mean, it's such a peaceful place, and I've known so many people who are not even associated with the party, but then just going there is so much divine for them. So tell us about it. And in fact, I remember there was some issues raised that some political parties came up with questionnaires, and they said that आम्ही लोकांना परीक्षा घेतो आणि train करतो and nobody else does. But then I think BJP is the pioneer to do that. So tell us about रामभाऊ मार्गी आणि काय होतं, कसं होतं सगळं, please we want to know. हिंदीमध्ये.
Well, I mean, the story of Rambho Bhagi Prabodhini, especially the concept and how it got initiated and then later on got some impetus, goes back to the 1960s, in fact, because this was the idea mooted by Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay, who was one of the founding fathers of the Bharatiya Jansanghh. And he had realized that once you are a part of the democratic politics, elections become very important, and in elections, apart from, I mean, beyond merit and whatever other qualities a person possesses, what matters most is your ability to get elected, which is also known as electability. But then, after you get elected, because you are electable, people elect you, that doesn't bring you any ability essentially to govern. And when you get elected, whether you are in opposition or you are in government, some kind of a participation in the process of governance do happen. I mean, it does happen, and for that you require the ability to govern, and for that you require some skills, some understanding, some knowledge. For that, training is essential, and therefore he had mooted the idea of an independent academy for the building of the capacities of elected representatives and political workers as well. And that is how it started. Of course, during his lifetime it couldn't happen, but then later on Rambhau Mahargi, who was one of the most illustrious members of parliament in the late 70s and early 80s, he decided to take it up after he was to get retired from the active electoral politics. But then perhaps that was not to happen. He died of cancer at a relatively early age. And then those who were his colleagues kind of at that point of time decided to commemorate him through the setting up of Rambhau Mahalgi Prabodhini. And the Prabodhini came into existence in 1982. I am associated with it almost right since the inception, since 1988. And today, as you were pointing out, this is the only institute of its kind in the entire South Asia, entire Asia for that matter. And although we are confined to the training of, although we are associated with BJP, our activities are not confined only to BJP.
Okay.
We have offered training to political representatives of parties like even Shiv Sena, Maharashtra Nirman Sena, Peasants and Workers Party, even for that matter, at rare occasions, but both the Congress parties in Maharashtra. Because we believe skill development is something which is essential to everybody, regardless of what ideology you have.
Adds to
And
nation's
therefore,
power.
therefore we have been working on these lines for last more than 30 years.
So essentially some small courses take place there. Any plans or any way youth can join ahead for any activities of Rambhau Mahalgi?
Yeah, of course. I mean, these days, especially Naitik and many people are aware that we have been conducting a training program for young, not exactly students, but young professionals who want to understand and develop some knowledge about the way our democracy functions, the way politics is conducted, and certain social issues which otherwise they are not exposed to because they are either technology or management science students and they can't understand what all is about this gender issue, for example, or about the social equality and social justice related thing, or about sustainability and environment, or about political parties and their ideologies. These people never came before them as a part of their syllabus. And therefore, at the same time, some kind of a development of their soft skills, whether speaking skills or writing skills and even presentation skills for that matter. So all these things we have now converted, in a capsule kind of a course, and to that we have named as certificate course in social and political leadership. In Hindi, we name it as Netrutva Sadhana because we believe that leadership science is a part of sadhana. It is not something that you pass through a course and then a leader comes out of that. That is certain problems.
Wonderful. Anybody of you wants to join or learn something about all this? So Rambhau Mahalgi Prabodhini is the place you all should be at. We have with us Darshak. Hello Darshak. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm around here.
हाँ.
Good evening, sir.
आवाज नहीं कर रहा. Hello. We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. थोड़ा जोर से बोलो. Yeah. Little louder.
So, good evening, sir. So, my question is,
Yeah.
we are talking about good governance, and corruption is a very dangerous roadblock for it. So, how are we planning to curb the corruption curve, which can help us to obtain Swarajya, which can finally lead us to Surajya?
See, basically, corruption as a phenomenon has several angles to that. But the fountainhead of corruption, I believe, is our electoral politics. And therefore, right since the days of Jansangh, we have been talking from the rooftop about cleaning our electoral mechanism, cleaning elections, and bringing some kind of a sanitized form of electoral democracy. To that end, as maybe many of you may be aware, but Bharatiya Janata Party is the only party which started some kind of a permanent setup of fund gathering for electoral expenses. We have an Ajivan Sahyog Nidhi kind of a scheme where people contribute once in lifetime. Huge amounts are deposited with the party, and through the interest that we earn out of that, it is expected that we carry out our electoral expenses. Of course, it doesn't happen that way all the time and everywhere, but at least there is some thinking that has gone behind within the BJP. I don't know what all other political parties are doing, but essentially, electoral politics being competitive, when other parties compromise, I mean, when your competitor compromises, you also tend to get lured by the politics of compromise, and therefore there is kind of a competitiveness in this compromising attitude as well. Very unfortunately, but it's a fact. So this is one aspect, and it can be arrested. The corruption in our elections could be arrested only through huge amount of electoral reforms, drastic electoral reforms. Already, thankfully, the Election Commission has minimized the campaign period. Also, there are several restrictions about putting up banners and hoardings and flags and posters. These days, you don't even see the posters. So things are improving, but one has also to look into the aspect that people also need to develop some kind of a or mobilize some kind of a public opinion towards that. Otherwise, that pressure will not build up. No politician will put this high on its agenda unless there is a pressure coming from the people. And therefore, I would expect that people also keep this as a significant part of the public discourse, opine on that, give us some ideas, give us some suggestions, and things certainly will happen in that way. It's a long drawn process, it's not easy, but I think it is not impossible.
So, sir, just to add to it, you said that people can suggest the things to you around for these things. So, what is the way people can send your feedbacks to? How, if anyone wants to give a feedback around this, so how they should contact BJP for the same or the party ruling over there?
Well, the party is very active on the internet in the cyber world, and party website is there. There is an independent IT cell which is monitoring all our presence in the cyber world. And more importantly, apart from the party, our Prime Minister is very technology savvy, and the MyGov portal, I'm sure all of you are either aware of that or members of that. That portal also is it's very extensively used for the by the Prime Minister for getting inputs from the people at large, and in a way it's one of the most effective equipments of what you call as crowdsourcing. It is happening in one way or the other. At the same time, let me also point it out here that our Prime Minister is somebody who has his own ideas and his own original thinking. It is perhaps in Mr. Modi we can find the Prime Minister or a politician who had the courage of calling for mandatory voting. This also is going to reduce the element of corruption in electoral politics. Unfortunately, the governor at that point of time didn't approve the bill which was passed by the Gujarat Vidhan Sabha. But now that Mr. Modi is at the helm of affairs, I am sure sometime or the other this item will be on his agenda, and at least some thinking could be generated about mandatory voting. If that happens, that also will impact greatly and very positively on the kind of electoral corruption that we find all around.
Thanks a
I
lot,
was
sir.
about to ask you about the electoral reforms and compulsory voting. So that is definitely on the agenda.
I believe so, because I mean, if one tries to guess that whatever the thought process that the Prime Minister has shared with the people in the past will sometime or the other find a place on his agenda, then it's a very logical thinking, and in that sense, I believe it will come on the agenda sooner than later.
There is also an argument made for this compulsory voting that we are living in a democracy where we have our freedoms and constitution gives our freedoms. So how can you bind and how can you compel somebody for voting? How can you bring about compulsory voting? What is your opinion on this?
I mean, it's an old debate, but maybe many of you are aware that in the Greek dictionary, the term idiot has been described as a person who refuses to vote. So nobody would like to be idiot for that matter. And then when we say, or when people talk of mandatory voting, it doesn't mean that you have to select the parties that are available. You can go and you can say, as what we have now, that none of the above option is always there. You can say that even by saying, even by not selecting somebody, you are selecting somebody.
Yes.
So that also is something which counts in a democratic process, and therefore there is nothing wrong about that. Although there is, as you rightly pointed out, there is a huge difference of opinion amongst those who are researchers in democratic politics, and there are different opinions as well. They also will be taken into consideration. Not that mandatory voting will happen very easily, but at least some debate could be started around that. That is something which is very essential. Otherwise, once the elections are over, we become very apathetic about the democratic process itself, which should not happen.
And Nota would be effective, and none of the above option which has been introduced.
Not to a very great extent, but at least people who make it kind of an alibi and then sit at home saying that there is nobody worthy of their vote. They cannot now use that alibi, use that excuse, and they will have to go and cast their vote even while pressing the Nota button.
Coming to the one of the hottest topic being discussed nowadays, Maharashtra elections. So, what do you think? I mean, of course, it is high time that we need a change and all. So, but then we did have a different kind of phase first time in the history of Maharashtra politics. So, how do you think that will affect the actual elections and the numbers and the government formations? Last moment, a lot of things happened, a lot of changes happened all of a sudden. People may be prepared, maybe they weren't prepared. So will that affect the numbers and the results of election?
Well, I mean, you are referring to the alliances and the breaking of alliance. I don't think so, because in a way, people are fed up of the politics of alliance. I mean, there is a phase in every in the history of every democratic country. A phase comes where is one single political party perhaps falls short of winning the confidence of the people from all nooks and corners of the country, and therefore they have to join hands with one or the other. But then alliance politics goes exactly against the grain of democracy, because in a politics where, and especially post-poll alliances, they certainly are a big no-no for pure democracy, pure democratic kind of consideration. Because when you vote for party A and reject party B and C, simultaneously you are rejecting party B and C. But one fine morning, if A joins hands with B, then it is an insult to the voters, and therefore, rightly, this should not be happening, and this should certainly be rejected. But then it again will require huge amount of democratic reforms. Insofar as Maharashtra is concerned, I believe people are fed up of politics of alliances and accommodations and adjustments and things like that, and therefore they would like one single party to be elected, and they will stand behind one single party solidly, and I'm sure the Maharashtra elections are going to throw a verdict which is complete in every sense.
What are the chances of one single party coming to government?
I think there are very bright chances, and not simply because I belong to the BJP, but if even if I look at it from a ordinary common voter's perspective, I believe he has little choice, because he cannot go with the bankrupt parties like the Congress party or the Nationalist Congress party, and then the appeal of other two parties, that is Maharashtra Navnirman Sena and Shiv Sena, has unfortunately but factually remained confined to only certain sections and certain geographical regions. And therefore, if there is a pan Maharashtra party which represents every section of the society, which has a track record of offering good governance, which has a leadership in the form of Narendra Bhai Modi at the national level and several worthy leaders at the state level as well, I think people have a have an opportunity to select the right kind of party in the form of BJP.
What is your prediction number wise? Seat, how much seats will
Well,
BJP
it is a
get?
part of psychology and political punditry, but I think party will certainly cross the 150 mark. There will be 150 plus.
Amazing, amazing. We all are looking forward to this good governance. Almost all the parties have declared directly. Most of them have declared the chief minister candidate. What does BJP plan on that?
Well, I mean, our electoral history is an evidence that it is not something that every party has to nominate somebody as the chief minister to win an election. We, in the past, had not done so, and certainly not at every point of time. And still, we had made it to the hustings. I mean, we had won the election. So, for example, in 1991, we got thumping majority in Uttar Pradesh, and Kalyan Singh's Ji's name was not even around at that point of time, and then he became one of the best chief ministers of Uttar Pradesh, for that matter. Similarly, in case of Gujarat, for that matter, I mean, when the first election happened, of course, there were choices, and people were hoping that Keshubhai or that time Waghela ji was in the party. So one of them will become the chief minister. But then Keshubhai's name was not projected in 1995 when we first came to power in Gujarat. And therefore, there is no thumb rule which suggests that you have to project somebody's name as chief minister. That is an option which the party may go for or may not go for.
We hear a lot of it in media. Media keeps saying that they have not declared and they have declared. I'm sure all these debates and discussions are always going to be there in all the elections. And how do you see the change in Maharashtra specifically after the Lok Sabha elections in the youth participation? Do you see any changes happening and transformation has been happened?
Well, I believe Maharashtra being one of the most progressive states, and we have a huge amount of urbanization here. So naturally, the city-dwelling youth is more inclined and more alert, more aware about the options that he has, and he is more eager to cast his vote, especially the new voters. And the youth, certainly being aspirational lot, they do have their stakes involved in the future of Maharashtra, and therefore the future government that takes over in Maharashtra after the results come out on 19th of October. And therefore they are looking for somebody who is credible, who is capable, and who had some very specific plans about taking Maharashtra on the path of progress ahead. In that sense, I believe the youth of Maharashtra is looking forward to BJP because they have an array of leaders who are capable, who have a proven track record, and there is somebody in the form of Narendra Bhai Modi and our party president Amit Shah to guide them, to lead them, to provide some kind of a mentorship, because many of our young leaders, I mean, they certainly require some guidance, and happily in a party like BJP, we have several people who can guide them ably.
I am sure youth participation has risen largely after this phenomenal Lok Sabha election. And youth पे से याद आया, how do you see the role of social media in election, politics, and overall this generation? Because it's because of that one of the reason we all are connected today is technology and social media.
See, social media certainly has a very powerful role to play, and the social media activists and enthusiasts have been playing a same kind of role. And just within 6 months, political parties have also become acutely aware of the importance of social media, and you find several competitive parties of BJP these days have put up their own war rooms, and they are into the business of purchasing likes and things like that.
Is that one of the reasons we have founders of Facebook in India now visiting?
Maybe that could, one certainly can link it to that. But the point here is that in India, as what Amartya Sen also had described, that we are very argumentative people. So debate, discussion, discourse is something which is in the grain of Indian democracy. And Facebook and things like that do provide us a forum where you can go, you can express whatever you feel, and you can seek reactions to that, and you can debate, and you can quarrel, and you can agree and disagree. So all these things, Facebook and Twitter and things like this, do provide you a forum, and I'm sure and more important is that there is huge amount of liberty that you can enjoy over there. There is nobody to make you think in a straight-jacketed way, or shut your mouth, or do something which you may not agree, or which is an infringement of your democratic rights. So these things just cannot happen on these kinds of social liberal media, and therefore I believe the power of social media is something which nobody should undermine. We should be using it, exploiting it to the hilt for the cause of democracy and politics as well, democratic politics as well.
And this reminds me of some countries where some social media platforms are banned. How do you see that?
Well, they are digging their own grave for that matter, because it is something nobody, I mean, it is so very ill advised, because when people are wanting to say something, it is like bringing emergency on the internet. So something certainly which is just not acceptable. Nobody is going to tolerate it. And in China also, people are not very happy about the kind of restrictions that are there. And after the Arab Spring, in several Middle Eastern countries and Arab countries also, there were attempts to kind of ban it, or shut the mouths of the people who are active on the internet, who are vocal on the internet. But none of these efforts have put paid. These are all cases of failure. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. You are an author too, Vinay, and you've written some books as well. So tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I was in journalism, and even today I keep contributing to several journals and magazines in Marathi and English as well. So it's not something very, I mean, several political activists do take pen in their hands and write something, contribute. They keep either blogging these days, or sharing their ideas via the social media and things like that. So it's not something very unheard of or very rare. I have been thinking and writing about democracy, and later on I got the opportunity of doing some research on democracy, and then came out a book which is essentially a part of, or a compilation of, my thesis on electoral politics and parties becoming victims of populism and electoral compulsions, and how can we arrest these kinds of tendencies. That is what all about in my research, which has now come out in the form of a book. But I would certainly advise the younger generation that they need to be, I mean, nowadays you did not even take pen in your hand, and you can write still, and essays after essays on the internet, and then publish through your blogs also. I believe this is a powerful media, and technology has empowered you to a very great extent, and people must write. They must keep on writing. They must share their ideas, share their experiences. This new literature, which I would say cyber literature or internet literature, will certainly shape the thought processes in the days to come, and therefore this is required. There are several advantages and virtues about this advancement of technology, and we must take this to our stride and contribute in the thought process of the society.
This reminds me to tell everybody that Vinay ji happens to be one of the most important driving force behind the party, and important brains, I would like to say, who advises the party since decades. That and I think BJP today, where it is, Vinay ji has a very important role and contribution to make in its success. And Vinay ji, we have a lot of youth with us and watching us and watching you. What is that one message you would like to tell the youth because India is going through, I think, a transformation stage, and in this optimism and where now patriotism is started imbibing and youth has started participating in the processes of the democracy. What is that one message you would like to give the youth of the country?
Well, frankly speaking, these days there are so many message givers that I don't think these kinds of occasions need to be used for some kind of a didactic role, and I should be saying that do this and don't do that, or something of that kind. But still, since you have asked this question and a friendly advice kind of, I certainly would suggest that these days the things that are in short supply, firstly, authenticity. There is so huge amount of so very huge amount of skepticism all around. If you find a person, if you interact with him, if you deal with him, if you discuss with him, you draw a conclusion, and many times you say, well, he appears good, he talks good, but one doesn't know, because the person, an individual, doesn't come entirely in front of you, because in urbanized era we cannot know everybody from every angle. That is the fact. At the same time, this promotes some kind of a skepticism and lack of authenticity also. I would suggest that people should interact more, should try to understand individuals and then form their opinions on the one hand. On the other hand, I would also strongly suggest that another thing which is in severe short supply is mentorship. Today, the youth is looking for mentors, and the mentors certainly are not around in good number. And when I say mentors, I'm not saying that people who are in their maybe 50s or 60s alone can become mentors. I believe that people who are in their 80s also require some mentorship,
Definitely.
and a person who is in his 30s also can provide that mentorship. Point is, we have to learn holding hands, walking together, helping each other, and shedding skepticism, looking for authenticity. And once we are convinced, I think fearlessly and without any doubts in your mind, one has to take a step, walk the talk, and move ahead. If that happens, then I believe you will never be alone, and there will be many people joining you, and you can make change in your own life as well as in the lives of the friends and colleagues and people with whom you are working.
Wonderful advice and words of wisdom from Vinay ji. Vinay ji, we have Praful also with us. So, Mr. Praful, can you hear us?
Yeah, namaste Vinay ji.
Yeah, namaste.
Yeah, so I have one question very particular to current situation. So last 60 year we spend time, okay, chalta hai, hota hai, slowly things are happening, and now suddenly we have Superman PM actually, who is pulling lot of investment. So are we ready as a country and especially as a Maharashtra to grab this opportunity? And second question is, when BJP will come in power, what if BJP will do differently so that Maharashtra pick up a lion share in that investment which is coming, and local population get benefited out of that?
Well, as regards your first question, I believe, yes, here is a Prime Minister whom you described as a Superman Prime Minister. But he also understands, and something very notably, he also understands, and he had said it at umpteen number of occasions, that without people's participation, no government program will be a success. And therefore, it is not for no reason that in Gujarat, for example, when he implemented his village water distribution body scheme, involving the village women especially, the plan for using water for agriculture and for drinking purposes and other purposes also need to be devised by the people themselves. It is not that the government sitting in Ahmedabad or Gandhinagar will decide the plan and the villagers will implement it. That will not happen, and therefore he insisted on participation of people. So this is the key, and therefore he is insisting wherever he is going he is using the connect that he enjoyed, such a great connect he has with the people, and through that he appeals people, and he is not shy of telling people things which they may not want to hear. For example, he is very clear when he says that if you are creating some kind of nuisance around you by throwing litter or maybe throwing papers and used water bottles, then it is you who will have to clear that. This requires some amount of which normally a populist politician will be doing. He is not a populist politician, and therefore people have great hope from Mr. Narendra Modi, and I am sure people will join him in his efforts, and he will certainly become a success. Whether Superman or I don't know, but he is certainly from amongst us. You know, when after the election he went to Varanasi and performed a puja and arati, a comment was there in an English journal that after years we are seeing somebody and having seen him as performing the arati with whom we can connect ourselves, with whom we believe that he is from amongst who has now gone there and who is now going to become the Prime Minister. I mean, that was the response of the people. So this being connected with the masses is something which is very unique about Narendra Bhai Modi, and neither language nor region nor religion has come in his way of connecting with the people, which is very, very remarkable. Your second question was about Maharashtra. I believe, see, every situation throws answers as well. I mean, questions are always there, but the answers also you find out. And therefore, in Maharashtra, when elections will happen on the 15th of October and when the results will be out on 19th, I am sure Maharashtra will pave way for a single party government with, as I said, an array of leaders that we have. And after all, this will be the first government that will take over in Maharashtra in the Modi era of politics, remember. And therefore, this government also will have to perform.
Yes.
The mantra of modern democracy is perform or perish. And therefore, if under the guidance of Narendra Bhai Modi, the new Maharashtra leadership performs, I am sure they will not have the reason to look back.
Top three things which BJP will do when it comes to power in Maharashtra.
Well, BJP manifesto had several things, and therefore it's very difficult to point out only top three things. But I believe there are several issues that the Maharashtra BJP manifesto, which is called as vision document, also speaks about. But one important aspect is the manifesto talks about a Lok Seva Guarantee Act, which is guaranteeing the redressal of grievances and whatever your work in the government offices in a stipulated frame of time. And if it doesn't happen, then there is a provision that you get some compensation as well, and the concerned government officer is in a way punished monetarily.
Fine.
Yeah. So this is a very significant legislation which has been talked about in the Maharashtra manifesto. Besides that, as we say that, as we have been hearing about the suicides committed by the farmers, and for that also there are several measures, including provision of fertilizer, seeds, facilitating regular and speedy supply of it, and also at an economic price. And importantly, there is a Annadata Aadhar Yojana for the old age pension kind of for the farmers who strive all along their lifetime for the agricultural produce. And in a way, he is the Annadata, and therefore this kind of an Aadhar Yojana has been talked about. Similarly, the manifesto also talks about completing all the major infrastructure projects in Mumbai and cities like that in a time frame which is specific, and wherein we can certainly achieve some cost cutting also, because most of the costs have been enhanced because of the time span that has gone and the lagging behind process also kept on continuing.
All the pending projects will be
so they will be cleared, and several other things are there. I am just referring to 2-3 things as you were very curious to know about.
Indeed, very unique points in this movies and all. There are new ones. So, Vinayji, any last notes and closing remarks from your side as we. I mean, I know if we go on and talk more and more, I think even 5 hours would not be enough. We have so many questions and so much to learn and know from you. So one mantra for everybody's life and some closing remarks.
I don't know whether a mantra for life is required because everybody finds his own mantra through his own experience and his own learning. So that is not required. For the time being, I would only say that 15th October is just 3 days away,
Yes.
and therefore prepare yourself for voting. Make others also to stand in queue and vote on that day, and perform the most important duty in democracy. With that, I'm sure you are going to pave way for a good, effective, result-oriented governance in Maharashtra.
Absolutely. So a lot of wishes and prayers from all the youth for the Maharashtra elections to Bharatiya Janata Party, and we're all looking forward to this good governance, which is just few days away from
Just round the corner.
Round the corner for Maharashtra, and which will, I'm sure, make the state Maharashtra, which we are missing since last 15 years.
Thank you so
so much, Vinayji, for all the blessings.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.